Here at Warner Parks in Nashville, Tennessee, work is well underway to eradicate the invasive plants that are over-occupying the forest floor. This is no small task. It encompasses almost 2,000 acres of the 3,200 total that comprise Warner Parks. Let's learn how Friends of Warner Park, together with Invasive Plant Control, Inc., are meeting this resource challenge head-on to achieve the goal of invasive-free WP by 2027. So hey, Jenny.
Hi, Julie.
So this is a beautiful park.
It is.
But I understand that you have gotten very interested in dealing with and evicting some of the plants here. How did that come about?
So I actually walked with a friend in the park a few days after I started my job, and he said, all this green stuff, this bush honeysuckle is not supposed to be here. I was very uneducated, and so I said, well, tell me a little more about that. And then Friends of Warner Park has a relationship with IPC, Invasive Plant Control. They actually work out of a building on our property. So I made my way over to see Steve Manning and Lee Patrick and said, tell me a little bit more about invasive plants. And then I attended the Invasive Plant Conference in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho 2 years ago, and I learned a whole lot about invasive plants.
I think a lot of us are aware of the honeysuckle problem, but what other kind of things are you finding in the parks that we think maybe escaped from somewhere?
Our four biggest invaders, if you will, are bush honeysuckle, euonymus vines that climb on the trees, privet, and tree of heaven, which we also call ailanthus. So those are the four biggest invaders. There are quite a few others, but those are the four main ones.
Now, all of these things at some point were, really huge in the garden trade. People planted privet hedges and euonymus for ground cover and so forth. But what is the problem that you're finding here in the park and that we really need to know about with these?
So ironically, the hedges that they jump over at the steeplechase in the park are also privet hedges. So it's also an issue in the park as well that we created. It's not just in the park, but it's the surrounding buffer of the park. And so as people plant those plants and bushes and things in their own yards, birds and animals and other things bring them into our beautiful park, which is pretty much how it started. I mean, our park used to be very clean, and in the last 20 years, it's become just very dirty, if you will, with invasive plants. The invasive plants, they choke out both the natural native plants in our park and also the wildlife, the birds and the wildflowers and the trees. When they take up so much of the canopy and the sunlight that comes through, the things that should be coming up from the ground aren't able to do so.
So with all of this work that you've already started doing, are there changes in the park you're already seeing?
We are seeing, especially around the steps at the Bellmead entrance of the park, where we eradicated over 40 acres of invasive plants. We had just a ton of wildflowers come up this spring and this fall, and more people said to me, did you plant those wildflowers? I said, no, they're just able to come to life because of really in that area of the park, the honeysuckle being gone. So it's fun to see other people's reaction to the new life in the park.
You actually have a goal of invasive free by 2027. How in the world are you going to accomplish that?
That is correct. We hope to be invasive-free WP by 2027. 2027 is the 100th anniversary of Warner Parks, and we really want to set this park up to be here for the next generation, for the next 100 years. It truly is a legacy-changing project for the park. And we started 2 years ago a capital campaign, and the goal was to raise $15 million. We've raised just over $5 million. And the first project was to redo the steps at the front entrance of the park, the alley, and the surrounding woodlands, which has been accomplished. And now we're moving our way through the park. And to date, we have eradicated approximately 700 acres of invasive plants. And we have about 1,600 more to go. And then there's open spots in the park that obviously don't need to be eradicated. The golf courses, the sports fields, steeplechase. So that helps us in being able to get through the park a little more quickly. But the goal is to be invasive free by 2027.
That is a whole lot of work, and I understand that you've been known to walk through the woods and cut on some of the euonymus, but you're probably not doing all of this work yourself, are you?
Absolutely not. I do now own 3 chainsaws, and I do love cutting the euonymus vine. There's a lot of self-satisfaction in that. But we have contracted with the company Invasive Plant Control, Inc., and they are based right here in Warner Parks, and we couldn't do this job without them. We also couldn't do the job without the donors who give to Warner Parks every day and every year to really help us keep this park so beautiful and protect the park. That is our mission.
Okay, this is fascinating, and I can't wait to meet your strike team. So let's go see them.
That'd be great. They're great guys.
So Dylan, you have quite the job here, and the strike team is helping you out, but what kind of tools and other eradication methods are you using?
So we have a lot of different methods that we use, ranging from hand pulling, where we go around and pull the small stuff out. We use cut stump treatments quite often. We also use tools like weed wrenches and uprooting tools to be able to pull the invasives out and get the whole root system along with it.
Are you just done when you come through an area and you get it cleaned out? I see a lot of piles of stuff here. Does that mean you're done? We can forget about it and move on?
Not quite. You know, we do expect that the invasives will return because they're very prevalent in the seed bank still. So what's really important with these invasive management projects is long-term monitoring and maintenance. So we will be coming back through when things start to resprout and do the same thing essentially.
So I'm wondering though, with what you do cut down, what do you do with that?
In the park, at least, in most areas, we just leave the debris where it is, the material where it is. Actually, the deer love eating the privet twigs and honeysuckle sprigs that we leave down. There are some certain areas in the park where we will get a mulching machine and actually chip it up and chip it back into the forest.
Okay, so the different methods that you use are fascinating, and they're not all things we're going to use at home, but let's go over a few of them. So what about just cutting things down? What do you use?
So for cutting things down, we will typically use brush cutters or chainsaws for the bigger stuff. And once we cut it very low to the ground, and we apply an approved chemical to the stump, just right to the stump. That's just the outer 25%, and that'll help to keep it from resprouting from the stump or from the root system.
All right, and then are there things that you just yank out of the ground? Are you pulling things?
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, the privet especially is fairly easy to pull, and you know, even if it's up to your waist high, you can typically pull it. You really want to be sure you get down low and, you know, gently yank it up and keep following where the roots are so you can get as much of it out of the ground as possible. If they're deeply rooted or if the plants are larger, you can use a mattix or a shovel to really dig in and follow where the roots go. To try and get them all out.
So if I pull these things out of the ground and I'm just going to have a brush pile in the back, can I keep them from rerooting?
Yeah, you can. What you want to do is knock all the dirt off of the roots. That'll, you know, dry those roots out so they don't have the chance of getting back into the ground to get started again. We stress safety above pretty much anything else. I mean, it is the #1 thing. We always wear steel-toed boots, gloves, helmets, and, you know, hearing and eye protection as well, because we are using tools like chainsaws and brush cutters. But we're very confident in how we use them and doing so safely.
All right, this is great advice, and I wish I had the equipment you all do, but I look forward to doing what I can to take care of my property as you all take care of this property.
Thank you so much.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.